I'd like to introduce Nate Mauger, who is the Assistant Campus Organizer at the Secular Student Alliance, although around the office we call him the Czar of Assistant Campus Organizing, because he wanted to know if he could be a czar when he was getting upgraded from an intern to an employee. And we said, sure, inside the office you can. So does that. Nate is invaluable around the office, takes care of all sorts of things. He's actually very much responsible for, well, for this packet, entirely responsible for the packet, and a lot of the organization that went into this particular event. So, so thank you, Nate, for doing that. Much appreciated. But he also happens to know a lot about sort of interfaith service projects because he's been involved in several of them, and that's what he's going to talk to us about. So thank you very much, Nate.
All right, so my talk, like August said, is about interfaith service projects, but also kind of service projects in general. So there should be tips for how to run a service project or organize a service project with religious groups, but also just in general. Spent some time this weekend talking with you guys, and apparently you guys are already doing service projects, which is good. So maybe this will all be review for you. Oh, thank you. Good. But hopefully there'll be some interesting things in here, and maybe learn a little bit from the mistakes we've made in the past as well. So everyone likes charts. I have a chart here, as you can see. It kind of shows exciting growth in the number of groups that are taking part in service projects. 2008, 2009, we had 23 groups, or 23% of groups that were involved in service projects. We get this data from a survey that we send out to all our groups at the end of the year, kind of gauging what their activities are, how their groups are going. And then in 2009, 2010, we had a significant jump. We had almost 50% of groups doing service projects, which is incredibly exciting. But it also should show you that if you're one of the 50% that isn't doing service projects, you're missing out. You've got to get on this. You don't want to be like the last person on the bus. So these are the questions I'll be discussing a little bit in the talk. I'll talk a little bit about what's been holding you back from doing service projects, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end to kind of discuss this. I don't think my talk's going to be as long as usual because I actually have a video that I usually play, but the AV isn't going to work out for that today. So talk about that, what's been holding you back, what are the benefits of interfaith service projects. I have what I call the 5 ings of service, which are kind of like the steps for planning any successful service project. So hopefully those will be helpful. How does one go about finding strategies for creating a relationship with a faith group? And what should you do about conflict with a faith group, if that should happen? Yeah, when. It is probably when. So here's the question that I ask first, is why do freethought groups often express hesitancy to cooperate with religious groups? And I think it's because there's often an expectation of proselytizing. I think some religious groups think that if they work with a secular group, that this is a great opportunity to lead them to Christ, or whatever God they choose to worship. I think in some ways that's not always like a really aggressive tactic by them. They genuinely think that this is the right approach to take and that they're doing you a disservice by not proselytizing to you. But you need to stay away from these groups. Look for moderate groups to cooperate with. And I'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the talk. But as secular groups, I think we are often under the impression that we have a lack of shared goals and ideals with religious groups. And this is almost always not the case, because even if you're the most angry, virulent religious group, you still want to take part in service projects. And as Dale McGowan was talking about yesterday, it's something that religious groups tend to do a lot better than we do. They have lots of experience doing it. They talk about it in their services, how they can get involved in service projects. So we can take cues from them. This is a picture of us down in New Orleans. The Students for Freethought at Ohio State took a trip down to New Orleans to help rebuild houses down there. And this is a funny picture. It's kind of an homage to Iwo Jima, but I enjoy it. And it just shows that you can have fun with people. Like, half of these people aren't even atheists, and I didn't hate them. So, but don't tell them that. And I think there's also a fear of lending credibility to a religious message or witnessing strategy. If they come in and they successfully complete a service project with you, there's this idea that they'll go back to their church service and say, oh, look, we reached the atheists, we showed them, the benefits of being a religious person, and maybe they'll learn something. But and I think the way to avoid that is to have very clear communication and tell them what your values are and why they don't require supernatural beliefs. And that can help to kind of diffuse that situation. So now you're wondering, what are the benefits of working with a faith group on your campus? I think working with religious groups, at least for our group, is a great opportunity to dispel common negative stereotypes about atheists. And I looked a little bit online today. I added to this slide a little bit with some funny pictures. I mean, people have negative ideas about atheists. If you can't read the bottom one, it says, atheism, a religion people join to appear smarter. I don't think I get along with that guy, but who knows? But anyway, that's the benefit of working with faith groups, is that you have an opportunity to dispel these stereotypes. Some of these, I think my favorite one of these is, what's in his pockets, assorted lint or the seeds of Satan? So another benefit of working with a faith group on your campus is that jointly planned events can help you connect with religious groups, but also you have an opportunity to bring people in your group who have a lot of knowledge about the Bible or religious traditions and show them that, atheists know about this stuff too. We take the time to research and understand. I mean, I think there was a survey recently done in the New York Times or something where this showed that atheists actually know much more about religion than most religious people. And it's surprising to people who don't know the secular movement, but not so surprising to us, because I think we take the time to understand the issues. And doing an interfaith service project can kind of expose to them that we know a little something about their traditions and their religious beliefs. This is a picture of our Vice President for Students Freethought, Mike Riggs, and he comes to the meetings and brings a wealth of knowledge about the Bible. So does Don Sutterfield. We have many people in the group that have a pretty in-depth understanding of the Bible, and I mean, that helps in group discussions, but it also helps when we go do service projects, for sure. I think regular collaboration with religious groups can also lead to further collaboration with religious groups. This is a slide that's kind of detailing our trip to New Orleans. I always like to ask, raise your hand if you think the guy in the sunglasses is an atheist. Yeah, no one. Oh, Axton, perhaps? He is a Christian, and you can see our atheist friend here looks awfully uncomfortable. But that's a joke. I mean, everyone got along really well, and we all cooperated. A little story about the service project that we did in New Orleans. This calendar is actually a calendar that we found in a woman's house that had been flooded due to Hurricane Katrina 5 years ago, or no, 7 years ago now, in 2003. This woman was 80 years old in this house when the hurricane came, and she would not leave. People begged her to leave, and she just would not leave her things. So when we went to kind of dismantle this house and tear out the drywall and things like that, we found all of her stuff. Everything was just there, scattered everywhere. We found her cat, her dead cat, in the corner of a room somewhere. We found her wallet with all of her things. But apparently, the story that we heard from people was that she had died in her doorstep. And when they actually came to do a reconnaissance on the house, they just found her there. I mean, there's still so much work to do in New Orleans. That's not to say that that's the only service project that you can do, but if you wanted to, that's definitely still there for you. And plus, tearing down houses is fun. So let's not forget that. All right, so these are the 5 ings of service projects: choosing, timing, funding, collaborating, and reflecting. I think I'll go into this a little more, but I think using this strategy can help you kind of outline the steps to plan a successful service project and do it well. So choosing a service opportunity, like I said, you don't have to go to New Orleans to do a service project. You have stuff all around. I know lots of you have already figured that out. But these are just some good ideas. You can donate blood as a group. I know as the SSA, we have people that go and do something called Bleed and Feed, where you give blood, and then you go get something to eat afterwards. And people can come who don't want to give blood and just come and eat, and maybe it gets a little less intimidating for them at some point. We've had groups do dance marathons for charities, freethought book drives, Adopt a Highway. I know the humanist community for Central Ohio did Adopt a Highway, and you get your name on a plaque by the highway, and that's free publicity. So, and then people drive by and say, "What? Atheists cleaning a highway? Why would they do that?" Alternative spring break is something I want to look into. I know lots of schools offer that. So, something I was thinking about last night, and I added these slides, but getting the timing right on your service project is key, because if you schedule a major service project like a trip in the middle of your quarter or semester, people aren't going to want to go. They have finals, they have tests and exams. It's just going to be a big problem. That's not to say that you can't do like a minor service project in your local area. That's probably a better strategy during the year, but good times to do service projects are like during spring break or during winter break. And just make sure you're savvy about how to approach people to get involved. Let them know way ahead of time. Get this stuff planned out at the beginning of your year. That way people aren't like, "Oh, 2 weeks, I can't do that." And getting funding for your project, you want to be this guy with all the money. So talk to off-campus groups. They have jobs and money, which is exciting because we have neither. And they like to help you because they like students. Talk to people at your student activity fund. They have money they want to give you. And like people were talking about yesterday, they like responsible groups that do service projects. So, talk to them. Cut corners where you can. If you can stay in like a church. I know this is what we did when we did the interfaith service project going down to New Orleans. We stayed in a church, and I was like a little bit reticent at first. I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, why am I staying in this church? But it doesn't have to be a negative experience, and it saves you a lot of money. So don't be too hesitant to do that. And we have money to fund your service project. Like apply for funds. And like Liz said, we only have denied 5 in the history of the SSA or something like that, so you're pretty likely to get funding. Wait. Oh, there we go. Okay. Was not expecting that. All right, so collaborating with religious groups, that's great for publicity. That's a reason in itself why you should collaborate with religious groups. Newspapers, news outlets love to hear these kind of like, maybe you guys have seen these YouTube videos of the hippo hanging out with the crocodile or something, or the lion hanging out with the antelope. That's the kind of thing that's attractive about these stories. So, you might not want to do it at first, but it's a good thing to do. It's good, especially for publicity. And there are other student groups, though, that you can get involved with on your campus, not necessarily religious groups, LGBT activist groups, Democrats. I would stay away from the objectivists. As far as I know, don't like poor people. Or they think it's their fault. So reflect on your work. Did I get that wrong?
You're just bringing the hate.
I am an atheist. So.
We'll talk in the car on the way home.
You're going to set me straight? All right. I think this is something that probably doesn't get done enough after service projects. I know we didn't do it, and I wish we had. But you should really reflect on the work that you did. Take some time to write something up, like a page or something about the experience working with the religious group. Maybe incorporate that into your press release, which Jesse could help you with. But task some people in the group. It's a great way to get people involved. Tell them, like, you went on this trip. Tell us if you enjoyed it, how you felt about it, and then pass that on to us, because it's the kind of thing that we love to hear about. We take trips to the White House where they talk to us endlessly, not me personally, but they talk about how they love service projects with interfaith groups, but probably service projects in general too. Like, they appreciate that that's going on. I know that's a big push. So remember the 5 ings, and you will have success. You will be like the dude with the flag on the mountain, So there you go. So I was talking a little bit about working with other kinds of groups, but I also incorporated faith groups with that too. So keep in mind there's a range of groups you can work with. But how specifically can you foster a relationship with a faith group? This is often difficult because you don't really know how to like get in with a faith group. You don't really know how to approach them. Usually, you know someone. You have a friend from high school that goes to the same college as you that's religious, or you know someone in your family that's religious. Go through them. See if they have any experience working with a Young Life group or something. Campus Crusade. I'm not sure they're always the best people to work with, but I'm sure it varies by group. Here at Ohio State, we had a group, Thomas Society. And they're very easy to work with, and you just don't know until you reach out and ask. So checking out involvement fairs is not always the worst idea. You don't have that personal connection, but you do have the opportunity to kind of talk to them there and see what kind of their ideas are. So just look into that. Encourage some of your members to frequent events and discussions run by members of religious groups. You need to go and see what they're talking about. And if you bring food, they're going to like you more. So I love pizza, so does this cat. Homer likes donuts. So these are things that people like. They appreciate. It's kind of a peace offering. That's how I feel about it. And it also might help to dispel some of the stereotypes, so that you're not like just the angry atheist in the corner, like judging them. And participate. Like go discuss things with them. I talked earlier about proselytizing. I know this is a problem I've experienced at least once as students for freethought, where people come and they kind of sit around at the meeting, and then all of a sudden they come up at the end and they say, "No, I have a question for you guys, blah, blah, blah," like chaos theory, whatever, on and on about how we're wrong with their weird, like, circular argument, whatever, You shut that down. If you've got a group you're trying to work with and then all of a sudden they come and they say all these crazy things, you don't want to work with them, but that shouldn't turn you off to working with any religious group. I mean, it's painful to have to deal with, but there are good religious groups to work with, for sure. And disagreement is inevitable. You're going to have arguments, but do it respectfully. Don't mock them. Don't use ad hominem attacks. Your ideas have reason and logic behind them. Use that. Use the marketplace of ideas to win your arguments. You don't have to get angry or sarcastic. I heard people talking yesterday about how having a sarcastic attitude can really turn people off to the group, even to humanists who come, because that's not always what they want. So just be prepared to accept the marketplace of ideas and realize that you're going to disagree about a lot. And take time to focus on the issues in which you have common ground. I mean, debates are good, but they won't keep people coming back. Choose the right kind of group to work with. There are groups who just want to come and debate you. That's not really the purpose of the service project. You should actually probably do the service project first, so that that they, care about poor people, they care about helping people, and then you can come back and disagree about an important issue, and you don't, immediately hate them. So don't work with Westboro. They're probably not going to be too receptive to that. And let the SSA help you with this. We're here to help. We have activity packets. We have funding. We have a communications director. We have all kinds of resources to help you. And I'm excited to help with service projects. I'm excited to do service projects. It's a really great way to kind of put your money where your mouth is as a humanist. You've got values that you think are important. You can kind of go show people why those values are important by taking part in service projects. So I can't tell you how important that is. So that's kind of wrapping it up. I guess I just have one final thought. So what's a zombie's least favorite part of doing laundry? Stains? Yeah? No, okay. All right. Poor zombie. All right.